Corruption has been identified as a major impediment militating against Nigeria's development. Indeed, Africa is set to lose about $50 billion annually through illicit financial flows. A sizable fraction of these emanates from Nigeria, hence the premium which the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration placed on tackling the scourge. Apart from making the fight against corruption a cardinal program of the government, the first critical decision by the administration at inception was the creation of a number of initiatives to pilot government's determination to eradicate the menace. A national anti-corruption strategy was developed, which is a framework for a coordinated approach to the anti-graft war in Nigeria. The strategy, which has since been flagged off, is premised on 5 pillars, namely prevention, public engagement, ethical reorientation, enforcement and sanctions, and lastly, recovery and management of proceeds of crime. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), the most vibrant anti-corruption agency in Nigeria and currently led by Ibrahim Magu, keyed into this strategy framework by developing reforms within the EFCC system in order to usher in a radically improved approach to tackle corruption in Nigeria. Prevention, which is a cardinal objective if the fight must be won, was given the top priority. To this extent, various preventive initiatives were designed towards public reorientation and enlightenment. These programs include the Nigerian Women Against Corruption Project, which was developed to increase women participation in the fight against corruption. The program was flagged off in Abuja, the Nigerian capital, by wife of the President of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, in December 2016. The same program was rolled out in February 2017 in Lagos, southwest Nigeria. Other geopolitical zones of the country are built to follow soon. The Clean Hands campaign for children was also flagged off. This campaign was designed primarily to promote the values of integrity and probity among the younger generation. The Creative Youth Initiative Against Corruption is another laudable initiative unveiled in October 2016 by the EFCC. The idea was conceived out of the need to give children a platform to express themselves using arts and various talents in order to speak against corruption. To further deepen the participation of young people in the anti-graft war, the EFCC established Integrity Club in schools and tertiary institutions across the country. And in a bid to draw more attention to the anti-graft fight, awareness roadworks are also organized quarterly in collaboration with various stakeholders across the country. The Commission also has anti-corruption programs on leading radio and television networks across Nigeria, even as the social media has been fully embraced as a vehicle for mobilization and information dissemination. Other reorientation mechanisms employed include engagement with members of the civil society organizations, the organized labor unions, and stakeholders in the public and private circle. Town hall meetings are also employed to create a face-to-face interactive platform with community and religious leaders, just as various groups within local communities in the grassroots are also engaged. Musical concerts are also staged to draw more attention to the anti-graft messages. Another cardinal objective of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy is public engagement. The EFCC, in order to bring the Commission closer to the people so as to increase public participation, created additional offices across the country. The commission before 2015, when Magu became the head of the anti-graft agency, operated offices in 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria, namely Abuja, North Central; Lagos, South-West; Port Harcourt, South-South; Enugu, South-East; Kano, North-West; and Gombe, North-East. To increase public access, additional offices were floated in Maiduguri, North-East; Ibadan, South-West; Kaduna, North-West; Benin, South-South; Uyo, South-South, with Makurdi, North-Central, and Sokoto, North-West offices already in the pipeline. The EFCC new head office building, whose construction was abandoned due to lack of funds, was also given priority by Magu, and with support from the Nigerian government, the project was completed and commissioned on May 15, 2018 by President Muhammadu Buhari. For the purpose of closing the gap in the shortage of middle cadre officers within the commission, massive recruitment exercises across all cadre was conducted, with the newly recruited officers who are in the Detective Superintendent, Detective Inspector, and Detective Assistant cadre trained with the best of facilities at the Nigerian Defense Academy in Kaduna. The social media was also employed as a tool for public engagement in order to create a conducive environment for reporting corruption cases. The Commission created several reporting platforms via the social media and dedicated phone lines. Through these channels, the Commission engages the public in its corruption prevention programs and also receives intelligence from whistleblowers, which has led to the recovery of several billions of naira hidden away by looters. The whistleblower policy of Nigeria's government was initiated in December 2016, primarily to support the fight against corruption by increasing exposure of financial crimes and rewarding whistleblowers. The initiative encouraged citizens to volunteer information, which has led to the recovery of stolen funds. The policy, which set aside a token not more than 5% of the total recovered sum as incentive to whistleblowers, got a boost with the creation of the EFCC corruption reporting platforms, as many individuals volunteered information that led to the recovery of billions of dollars hidden away by looters. The very first information which came through led to the discovery of $9.8 million hidden away in cash in a slum in Sabon Tasha, Kaduna State, Northwest Nigeria. The money is said to belong to Dr. Andrew Yakubu, a former group managing director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. The funds are under an interim forfeiture order, even as the indicted official challenged the court order. Still in Kaduna State, whistleblower information led EFCC operatives to also intercept the sum of 250 million naira in colored sacks at the Kaduna International Airport. The money was to be smuggled through the airport to an unknown destination. In Lagos, Southwest Nigeria, another tip from a whistleblower led to the interception of 250 million naira in various currencies at a popular textile market in the city. The money was stacked in bags, hidden away from the public. And in a shopping mall located in highbrow area of Victoria Island, also in Lagos, the sum of 500 million naira was also uncovered by operatives of the Commission. But perhaps the most unbelievable discovery was, however, that of Osborne Towers in Ikoyi, also in Lagos, where cash in local and foreign currencies was discovered in an apartment on the 7th floor of the towers. These funds have now been forfeited to the Nigerian government. A breakdown of funds recovered through information provided by whistleblower in summary include over 500 million naira, over $53 million, and in British pound sterling the sum of over 100,000 pounds were recovered. Also recovered was over 500,000 euros. Still on the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, the Technical Objective 4 emphasized on enforcement and sanctions for corrupt offenders in order to address emerging challenges in criminality and to strengthen its enforcement mandate. The EFCC, as part of its internal reforms, created additional departments and sections. These include the Asset Forfeiture Department, the Forensic Department, and the Public Affairs Department. The newly created sections include the Procurement Fraud Section, Foreign Exchange Malpractices Investigation, Capital Market and Insurance Fraud, the Cybercrime Section, Forensic and Financial Investigation Section, Tax Fraud, and Creative Communications Unit. After the creation of these other arms of the Commission, the EFCC launched major onslaughts on the seeming high and mighty in the society, who were hitherto described as untouchables. They were accused to have soiled their hands with shady deals. These include very senior military officers and their civilian accomplices implicated in the $2.1 billion arms procurement fraud. Investigation by the agency revealed that top military commanders charged with the responsibility for the prosecution of the war on insurgency in the northeast Nigeria allegedly took advantage of their positions to line their pockets and embarked on a spending spree to acquire choice assets both within and outside Nigeria. The operations of the upstream and downstream sector of the Nigerian oil industry has for so many years been a source of concern with allegations of serious corruption. Over the past 3 years, the EFCC has conducted massive investigation into transactions in the sector, leading to the indictment of some former officials of the Petroleum Resources Ministry and their accomplices. Notable names being investigated by the agency include a former petroleum minister, Desiani Alison Madueke, and her associates, Jude Omokore and Kola Aluko, a fugitive who is believed to be hibernating abroad. From Alison Madueke, the Commission secured the forfeiture of properties to the Nigerian government through non-conviction-based forfeiture proceedings. Among the properties recovered include a penthouse located in the highbrow neighborhood of Bella Vista, Banana Island, Ikoyi, Lagos, and another in Admiralty Estate located at Gerald Road, Ikoyi, also in Lagos. Others are 56 properties located in Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Nigeria's capital, Abuja, valued at over $21 million. These properties have since been forfeited to the Nigerian government. The forfeiture order is in addition to an earlier one secured by the EFCC in 2017, which transferred ownership of 7.6 billion Nigerian naira allegedly recovered from Alison Madueke to the federal government of Nigeria. In the course of the investigation, the EFCC operatives also recovered 15 boxes of exotic jewelries worth over £5 million from Alison Madueke's Abuja residence. The country's oil subsidy regime, which was characterized by massive corruption, was also investigated by the EFCC, and many corrupt oil marketers were arrested and arraigned before various courts across the country. The subsidy fraud, which was perpetrated in connivance with government officials, drained the country of billions of dollars allegedly claimed by the criminals for products never supplied. The EFCC recovered another milestone in this regard with the conviction and sentencing of 3 prominent oil marketers to 10 years imprisonment. While these revelations rankle, most Nigerians were also shocked to learn about how the country's patrimony was filtered in bribes for vote schemes in the 2015 general election. The sum of over $100 million was allegedly shared among top politicians and staff of the Nigerian electoral body, the Independent National Electoral Commission, to rig the election. Dozens of staff of the electoral body and influential political figures, including former ministers and state governors, are currently being prosecuted in courts for their roles in the scam. Some recoveries have also been recorded by the Commission in this regard. Judges and very senior lawyers are equally standing trial for corruption. Justice Rita Ajumogobia and Justice Unwali S. Umbuta, amongst others, also been prosecuted as senior advocates of Nigeria (SAN), including Ricky Tafa, Joseph Nwobike, who was convicted and sentenced to 1 year imprisonment for perversion of justice, amongst others. The EFCC, using aggressive and diligent prosecution of corruption cases in court, has been distinctive in its conviction record. The effort is rewarded with a conviction return that is adjudged the best among other law enforcement agencies in the country. A breakdown of convictions recorded in the last 3 years when Magu assumed duty as the head of the anti-graft agency is as follows. 103 convictions was recorded in 2015, 194 in 2016, 189 in 2017, and in 2018, the Commission has so far secured 217 convictions from January till date. The total number of convictions recorded in 3 years is put at 703, and it's still counting. The significant milestone regarding the convictions so far recorded in 2018 was the 14 years jail term handed to 2 former state governors, Joshua Dariye, who is a serving senator, and Reverend Jolly Inyame, for corruption. Their trial took 11 years. The 2 former governors, who are currently serving their jail terms at the Kuje prisons in Abuja, however, approached the Court of Appeal Abuja Division seeking to have their convictions and sentencing set aside. But the appellate court upheld their convictions and commuted their sentences from 14 years to 12 and 10 years respectively for being first-time offenders. Inyame was, however, not so lucky, as the panel not only upheld his conviction but also fined him the sum of 495 million naira. It is on record that 95% of all recoveries in Nigeria is through the EFCC, following court orders which granted interim and final forfeiture of looted funds and illegally acquired properties. In this regard, apart from recoveries achieved locally, efforts are currently ongoing towards the repatriation of stolen funds from foreign jurisdictions. Nigeria has entered into bilateral agreements with a number of countries for mutual assistance aimed at checking illicit financial flows, tracing, recovery, and return of stolen assets. The recent return of $321 million by Switzerland to Nigeria, which is part of the Abacha loot, was handed under this framework. Back home, the EFCC, in collaboration with agencies of government such as the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, in the last 3 years, is actively helping to recover otherwise toxic assets and tax liabilities Funds worth about 400 billion naira have so far been recovered by the EFCC on behalf of these agencies. The recoveries between November 2015 and today is put as follows. The EFCC also intensified its effort at checking that the airports across the country are not used as means of conveying illegal wealth. This is done by stationing operatives of the Commission at major international airports. This move is yielding results as cash and other valuables continue to be intercepted. Just recently, the Commission intercepted raw gold bars worth 1.2 billion naira at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, and another worth 211 million naira at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos in an attempt to illegally smuggle it out of the country. It is, however, worthy of mentioning here that the EFCC's recoveries is the highest recorded by any anti-graft agency ever in the history of Nigeria's war on corruption. In an effort to maximize and utilize some of the forfeited properties recovered by the Commission, a number of Nigerian government agencies have been allocated such properties to be used as offices. These magnificent properties are currently housing institutions such as the Voluntary Assets and Income Declaration Scheme, which used to be under the Ministry of Finance, a unit from the Defense Headquarters, the Voice of Nigeria, the Northeast Initiative, and also the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, PTAD. This initiative has saved the government significantly by reducing the cost of governance. The EFCC is also leveraging its experience to build the capacity of anti-corruption agencies throughout Africa. It has mentored a number of agencies in the region, including the anti-corruption agencies of countries like Liberia, Cameroon, South Sudan, Niger Republic, Sierra Leone, Kenya, Tanzania, and the Ghanaian Financial Intelligence Center. In May 2018, the EFCC successfully hosted the 8th Commonwealth Regional Conference of Heads of Anti-Corruption Agencies in Africa. The conference, which provided a platform for rejigging the continent's corruption fight, had in attendance international figures including Thabo Mbeki, a former South African president, and the Right Honourable Patricia Scotland, Secretary General of the Commonwealth, amongst others. Following the success of the conference and in view of the Commission's landmark achievements, Acting Chairman of the EFCC, Ibrahim Magu, was appointed Chairman of the conference. The Commission was also adjudged as the best anti-graft agency in a report conducted by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Indeed, slowly but steadily, the EFCC is altering the narrative of criminal prosecution in Nigeria and setting a standard for law enforcement agencies within and outside the country. Global confidence has been restored as several donor organizations and foreign law enforcement agencies collaborate with the EFCC, which is opening fresh lines of partnership and collaboration. The agency has displayed that courage and dedicated leadership can bring an end to the menace of corruption in Nigeria.